and that's on automatic cycle. So it's never like a mechanism to do it, right? I can't believe that. I tried to use my rubber without asking me. Well, I spoke it, but I had to make it so angry. That makes sense.
Ready to start the show? Yay! Right, quick note, the beginning of this show is meant to be with me off stage, but there's only the one microphone. So I'm just going to hide. There's no backstage, it's just a bar, and if I've run through, I'll knock this over, which actually I'm in Bristol doing anyway. Accident waiting to happen. Good. So imagine you've all just come in just now. You haven't seen me, I'm not here. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to start the show? And please welcome to the stage area with the 10 best songs of all time. You can't see me. It's Marc Burrows! Bit. No one likes this bit. It's faintly embarrassing, this bit. When we were young and your heart was an open book, you used to say, live and let live. You know you did, you know you did, you know you did. But in this ever-changing world in which we live in, makes you break down and cry. Live and let die. Live and let die. Live and let die. Live and let die. And that is how I lost my job as a lifeguard. So not rough for one punchline, isn't it? Hello, welcome to the show. Give me a cheer if you've seen either me or Andrew O'Neill do comedy before. Give me a cheer if we are both new to you. Woo! A couple of you, brilliant. Okay. Those of you who've seen me before, this is the deal. This is a work in progress show. They're both work in progress shows. So that means they're not quite ready, they're not quite finished. They're at the Edinburgh Fringe this year. So some of these jokes are brand new, we've never been told on stage before. Some of my jokes are actually a few years old, but I may pretend they're brand new if they don't work for any reason. I'll be out of breath for the next 10 to 15 minutes. I'm basically just hoping the Fringe gets me fit, that's basically. So I'm going to do my show, it's called The 10 Best Songs of All Time. That'll last about sort of 50 minutes, an hour. Then I'll have a break, that's your time. And then we'll have Andrew O'Neill. So you can, if you're here for Andrew, then you can think of me as kind of the warm-up act in music terms. I'm the hype man, like you have in hip-hop. I'm sure you've all seen a hip-hop hype man. A hype man, if you don't know, can often be as good as the main act. He can be as important as the main act. He is always, though, crucially, slightly fatter than the main act. Those of you who don't know Andrew will understand when he gets here. This is called the 10 Best Songs of All Time. My name is Marc Burrows. If you don't know me, for those that you do, I apologise for the bits. You guys came to the version of this show a month ago. It's not that different. I have written some new bits, but not that many. So if you could not shout the punchlines out like somebody did the other day, that would be really... Yeah, I know, 18 a year ago. Maybe I really should refresh my material more often. It's a show about music, about loving music. It's by me. I'm music obsessive. I'm a music geek. Any music geeks in the room? A few of you. I am a massive music geek. All my haircuts have been music inspired. Like before I had this one, I had the sort of swoopy, Justin sort of Alex James fringe. You know what I mean? The indie sort of swoopy fringe. Like Alex James before he went evil. The swoopy indie fringe. I had to get that cut after a mate of mine genuinely put a picture of me on a website called Lesbians That Look Like JustinBieber.com. Any Bieber fans in the room? Of course not, licensed premises. So, there is a word for people that are allowed in pubs and like Justin Bieber. That word is paedophiles. Early crowd, good. Now. So, in the 90s I had long blonde hair. I thought I looked like Kurt Cobain. Turned out I looked exactly the same as the guitarist from Hanson. People used to shout "umbop" at me in the streets. It was embarrassing, especially as we all know "Where's the Love" is the better song. So I got this stuff. This is my newest haircut. This is my fringe, the rockabilly fringe. It's the most rock and roll haircut you can have, isn't it? The fringe, the quiff, the rockabilly quiff. I did a gig in America and said I've got a quiff, and everyone sort of chuckled. It turns out that is American for vaginal fart. So now I've got the rockabilly quiff. I was like, yeah, I am Elvis. I'm Johnny Cash. I'm the coolest motherfucker in the room. And I went home. My dad went, "Hey up, Tintin's here." Still not cool. I tried to look cool. I tried to wear the cool bow tie, you know, the Matt Smith Doctor Who bow tie, the sort of indie Shoreditch Hoxton bow tie. Turns out I can't wear a bow tie because apparently when I wear a bow tie, I simultaneously at one and the same time look exactly the same as both a child and a paedophile. Which leaves me deeply conflicted, but easily satisfied. So. Good. So right, that is it for the. There's one more paedophile joke, but it's a fun one. Look out for it. So I'm a music obsessive, and this is a show about loving music. People say I'm a music geek. People say that I'm a frustrated rock star. I'm sure you've heard that phrase, a frustrated rock star. Mark, you are a frustrated rock star. And that is bollocks. I am not a frustrated rock star. Kurt Cobain was a frustrated rock star. I'm frustrated, I'm not a rock star. Very different thing. Now, I'm also a music journalist. That's my kind of trade. I've done a few things over the years. I've worked in music PR, I've worked for record labels, I've sold t-shirts on tour. I've worked as a music journalist, which if you know anything about the music industry will tell you that none of the bands I've been in have done very well. Music journalists make lists, that's what I'm doing. We love making lists. Being a music journalist is essentially just making lists, hanging around in your pants, downloading music for free, and kind of talking shit whilst your mum told you to get a proper job. It is a lot like being unemployed. This is partly inspired by NME this year did, NME magazine, for those of you who don't, it's like Melody Maker with ideas above its station. Surprisingly good hit rate for that very niche joke. So I got this, and this is the 500 greatest songs of all time. Anyone want to have a stab at what they said was number one? It Smells Like Teen Spirit, you're right, and that is wrong. Nothing against Smells Like Teen Spirit, it's not the best song of all time, we'll discuss this later. They've tried to do some comedy themselves, the good people at NME, they've gone for some comedy on the front, look. They've got Kurt Cobain there, he's saying, "Smells like a list to me." There's Noel Gallagher, very funny man, Noel Gallagher. Noel Gallagher has said some genuinely funny things in his time. My favourite Noel Gallagher quotes is he described Liam Gallagher as a man with a fork in a world of soup. And he described Jack White from the White Stripes as like Zorro on donuts. That's a funny man. What could they possibly have quoted him here? Here's a picture of Noel Gallagher. "This better be a wonder pole." Get it. And at the bottom here they've gone for Jay-Z there, and he's saying, "If I'm at 99, we got a problem." But surely you go for I've got 99 problems but a list ain't one. Surely. So we'll be neglecting that. If I get stuck, I'll fall back on this. But it is some of it's brilliantly written, but there aren't enough jokes in it. And they're terrible. So that's it. I mean, it's a show about loving music, because music tastes change over the years, and trying not to be snobby about this kind of stuff. You know, if you were born in the 50s, you probably the music you love would probably be stuff like Elvis and rock and roll, or skiffle or something. In the 60s, you might love the Beatles or the Stones, that sort of thing. The 70s, Bowie, glam punk, whatever. The 80s, the Smiths, Michael Jackson, whatever. The 90s, Britpop, grunge, all that sort of stuff. The Spice Girls. If you're born in the 2000s, your taste in music will probably be awful. And you'll probably use the word sick to mean good. Both of those things can fuck up. Now, I'll tell you some facts about me. I'll be referring to my list here. That means I was just checking I've not forgotten anything. Oh yeah, so I did think about, I could have just based this on the best song, the most highest selling songs of all time, the most commercially successful. But then this has been an entire show devoted to Celine Dion, Elton John, Tom Jones, and that's not a comedy show, that's a night out in Vegas. That's a gay club, not a very good one. Instead I've done my own list, because I'm a music obsessive. As I said, music is in my bones, music is my life. There's 3 genuinely true facts about me and music. Fact number 1 is that I was named after the 70s pop star Marc Bolan. Yeah, my name is Marc Burrows. I was named after Marc Bolan. I think my parents wanted me to be kind of confident and cool and rock and roll. They named me after a short Jewish bloke who wore makeup. Crashed his car into a tree at the age of 27. I did think the driving lessons for my 27th birthday were taking a piss, as was that holiday in the New Forest. Marc Bolan, of course, killed by David Bowie. That's well known, isn't it? Marc Bolan was killed by David Bowie. Marc Bolan did a duet with David Bowie. 2 weeks later, Marc Bolan died. Bing Crosby did a duet with David Bowie. 2 weeks later, Bing Crosby died. Freddie Mercury did a duet with David Bowie. 12 years later, Freddie Mercury died. So I think he killed him in a different way. Alright, that has a mixed response every time I do it. Sometimes it goes very well, sometimes it gets that slightly shot. It's alright, it's almost certainly not true. Fact number 2 about me you should learn is that my grandma's cousin was a man called Eric Coates, one of the greatest composers of the 20th century. We're not posh, but he kind of was, and he wrote the Dam Busters March. And she was da 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 da. My grandma's cousin wrote that, which is why no one in my family is allowed to play football within 10 miles of a German dam. And I wasn't allowed to name my friends Black Labradors. Give me a cheer if you got that joke. Give me a cheer if you didn't. Look it up, it's very funny. It's a little bit Jeremy Clarkson, but it is historically accurate. By the way, this show is going out in Edinburgh at 11:30 at night, so I've gone punchy with it. So don't, it's a little bit on the dark. Hey, here's Antonio. Hello, we started.
It's very cold in here, isn't it?
Fact number 3 you should know about me. Fact number 3 is that my Uncle Chip is an Elvis impersonator. That's absolutely true. My Uncle Chip is an Elvis impersonator. He's not very good, he can't sing, but he has put on a lot of weight and his kids haven't seen him since the 70s. Genuinely true. I went home to see my granddad's funeral, and I saw my cousin, and my Uncle Chip is getting married to his 4th wife. Her name is Giselle, or as my auntie genuinely keeps referring to her, Gazelle. I said to my cousin, "Are you coming to Chip's wedding?" And she went, "Nah, I'll wait for the next one." So yeah, those are all true facts about me. I am obsessed with music. Music has been the kind of linchpin of my life. It tells me everything I need to know. All of my kind of life decisions, my major life points have been associated with music. They all had a soundtrack. I'm sure yours have too. There is a song that's been stuck in your head all day. I promise it. Well, right, everyone think of the song that's been stuck in their head all day. You're welcome. So what I've learned is you can tell everything about somebody based on their taste in music, based on the kind of music they like. What you can tell is everything you need to know about someone's sex life. It's an 11:30 show, based entirely on the kind of music they like. I'll give you an example, because the first of the top 10 songs of all time is a song by the Smashing Pumpkins called "Today." Does anyone know it? Yeah, that's number 1, right? Because that's the song that was playing while I lost my virginity. In the late 1990s, because yeah, by the way, I'm 33 years old. I used to have, when I had the older haircut, the Bieber haircut, I got ID'd continually. Best one was I got ID'd 3 years ago in Sainsbury's buying a pair of scissors. Not the worst one. I got ID'd about a month after that buying a 15 DVD, and not any DVD. Some 15s are quite cool. Terminator, 15. Pretty Woman, 15. Because you see Julia Roberts' tits at the 30-minute and 30-second mark on the piano. I got ID'd buying the musical Cabaret. What you will. So yeah, I lost my virginity. I'm still learning to use the easel. It's a new easel. Ow. I often just be listening to that song. Today it was on a screen on a video. MTV was on in the corner of my bedroom, and as the moment occurred, as I blossomed forth into manhood, I don't know what this is. I was very new to it. As that special moment in a young person's life, as I blossomed into manhood and into my girlfriend, I suppose, as that moment occurred, right, I looked up directly into the eyes of Billy Corgan, the lead singer of Smashing Pumpkins. As that happened, I looked into Billy Corgan's face, and I noticed for the first time that Billy Corgan had shaved his head. Now that had a weird Pavlovian effect on me. Because now every time I see a bald man, I get massively aroused. Which makes visiting my dad really awkward. But the film Alien 3, amazing. So, but it works because you get into music at the same time you develop your sexuality, your sexual identity. You know, you never love music more than the music you like as a teenager. You never and everything you know about your sex life, you learn about yourself. As a teenager, that's when the things happen. Music and masturbation, very, very similar. You know, they as a teenager, music and masturbation are very similar. You know, as a teenager, you've got a lot more time for them. You like them harder and faster. And the weirder it gets, the louder it gets, the more your parents worry. I slightly screwed that one up. The weirder it gets, the more your parents worry. That wasn't one of the new ones. And of course, as an adult, you just don't have time for them anymore, do you? Except on the odd Saturday morning in bed or on the train to work. So, so I can ask any of you what your favourite kind of music is. It'll tell me everything I need to know about your sex life. It's genuinely true. So I'll prove that. I'll start with the gentleman here. What's your name? Chris. I'm going to start with you, Chris, because you came late. That isn't part of it. That isn't part of it. I'm going to ask you your favourite kind of music, right? There's only one wrong answer to this question. It's a very easy question, right? So, Chris, what's your favourite
genre?
Yeah, genre. We'll go broad. Genre. What's your favourite genre of music? One wrong answer to this question. It's very easy.
Hard rock.
You like hard rock music? That's a good answer. Give them a round of applause. That's a perfectly practical answer, right? The wrong answer, if anyone was interested, was bit of everything. No one likes a bit of everything. You don't like Slipknot and the Spice Girls. Unless you're my mate Will, who does. Although they are very similar, Slipknot and the Spice Girls. Slipknot, I don't even remember the heavy metal band Slipknot. When they first came out, they would all gather around a dead bird in a jar and smell it. This is true, you can look it up. And so they'd all get sickened and vomity so they could go out and do their sick heavy metal music. On the other hand, you've got Spice Girls, something very similar. They just gather around Victoria Beckham. So, fuck off. The Spice Girls were a five-headed, dead-eyed insult to feminism. Spice Girls taught us what girls want, what they really want, to show their tits, vote Conservative, marry a footballer, and maintain a disappointing solo career. Yeah, Cheryl Cole paid attention. Yeah, anyone that can be replaced by Talisa from N-Dubs and no one notices has got no place in the So you like hard rock music? That tells me everything, Chris, that I need to know about your sex life. You like hard rock music. So your sexual style, kind of pounding, occasionally quite aggressive, and most of your best work done quite a long time ago. Yeah. Denim and leather, Chris, denim and leather. So yeah, it works. That sounds about right. It works with absolutely anybody. Gentlemen here, I know you. What's your name? Just the benefit.
Johnny.
Sorry.
Johnny.
Johnny. What's your favourite kind of music, Johnny?
Probably the Americana.
You like Americana. So interesting. So your sex life is definitely kind of sort of lots of complicated fingering and men with beards. Yeah, it's about it works. What's your name? Oh, lady here in the glasses and the lovely hair. What's your name?
Els.
Sorry.
Els.
Els. What's your favourite kind of music, Els?
Actually, I really liked what you were playing when I came in because I've been just making the Shine playlist. I'm going to go Britpop.
Oh, amazing! So you and I can get on pretty well, Els. No, so yeah, you know, so your sex life fucking awesome. It's bouncy, it's bright, excitable, it's a little bit shallow. And it is very focused on the 1990s. There's a brilliant article in the Observer on Saturday, and the headline genuinely was Damon Albarn and his sister Jessica on their special relationship. Who wrote that? It wasn't you, was it? Sorry?
I also did huge islands when I was pregnant.
No, it's brilliant. We'll do one more. Gentleman right in the middle there. What's your name?
Dan.
Dan, what's your favourite kind of music, Dan?
Mostly listen to industrial metal.
Like industrial metal, brilliant. So, yeah, so your sex life, hardcore.
Yeah.
Creepy. A lot of electricity involved, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's basically just the fetish scene, that's what we're saying, isn't it? And generally only does make sense on drugs. So, it works for everybody, it genuinely does. Right, one more, we'll try one more. What's your name?
Heath.
Heath, what's your favourite kind of music, Heath?
Keith. But anyway,
Keith. It doesn't. From my point of view, it makes no difference.
Me neither, I take Heath. Probably turn of the century dance.
You like turn of the century dance music? Just for clarification, turn of which century?
Bit of everything.
Because if it's turn of the 19th century, then it depends if your sex life is either going to be kind of swingy, quite close dancing, a little bit of a banana. Turn of the recent century, your sexual identity is going to be, frankly, a little bit disappointing and feel like a lull point between two otherwise exciting bits of popular culture. I know, I can tell by the look in her eye. Favourite band? Like that turn of the century stuff?
Probably Prodigy.
The Prodigy? Oh, brilliant! So yeah, that definitely tells me everything I need to know about your sex life. Yeah, you are the fire starter, the twisted fire starter. We've all seen the video to Smack My Bitch. So, there's no mirrors in your house. My favourite ones are pop music. Any pop fans in the room? Of course not, we've dealt with this. If you like pop music, your sexual style, bouncy, excitable, sugar-coated and mostly aimed at children. My favourite one's jazz. Anyone like jazz? You're a jazz fan, I can tell. So your sex life, intricate rhythms, lots of horn. Far more fun for you than it is for the person you're doing it to. It's a jazz joke there. That's it. It says everything about you. That's what this show's about. It's about how music soundtracks as important points of your life. The first music I genuinely remember loving was Christmas music. Any Christmas music fans here? Yay! Surprisingly high rate there, actually. So this is the first album I genuinely remember loving. It's called the Christmas album. Now that's what I call music's Christmas album. It's still in print. It's now called. Now that's what I call Christmas. The track list hasn't changed since the mid-1980s because there's only been about 2 good Christmas songs released since then. I had it on tape when I was little. This isn't the actual album. I had it on tape. I've since obtained a vinyl copy because Music Geek. Even the floors of my house are coated in vinyl. So, because have you ever tried to lay a floor on an MP3? Terrible fidelity. Now, there's a lot of good songs on this. Roy Wood and Wizard, I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day. That's a song that hides in plain sight. You've heard that song so many times, you've forgotten how amazing it is. It's a genuinely incredible piece of music. It sounds brilliant. These brilliant drum sounds, and the lyrics are bollocks. The lyrics make no sense whatsoever. When the snowman brings the snow. No, he doesn't. If anything, it's the other way around. I wish it could be Christmas every day. No, you don't. That'd be terrible. EastEnders would run out of characters within 3.5 weeks. But Doctor Who would be on every day. But those episodes would always be a little bit broad and disappointing. Interesting what the hit rates of these are. Some of these are like, yeah, nerd crowd. Some of these not so much. The song I'm going to go for number 2 in the best songs of all time, is the absolutely astounding Do They Know It's Christmas? Hey! Yeah, exactly. It's a fucking brilliant song. Don't be put off, Do They Know It's Christmas, by the fact that it's a song almost entirely made by bellends. Like, if you think about it, I don't mind Bob Geldof, he's got a pass, but, like, you know, Sting, bellend. Tony Hadley, bellend. Simon Le Bon, bellend. Bono. Status Quo. You go the Phil Collins. The list goes on. I'm not sure about Midge-Ure. I didn't know if Midge-Ure was a bellend or not. But I do know his ex-wife because she's a stand-up. So as soon as alarm going off. No, good. Midge-Ure's ex-wife is a stand-up, Annabelle Giles. She does comedy now, and I met her on the circuit. And I said, I've been doing some material about your ex-husband. I say he's a bellend. I don't know if he is, so I feel a bit guilty about it. And she said, don't worry, he is. The only other person on Do They Know It's Christmas who isn't a bellend was Boy George, who I do quite like. I used to love Boy George when I was little because, you know, all the bright colours and stuff. Children loved him. I mean, he is a registered sex offender, so you have to gloss over that. As I said, I used to work in the music industry, doing social media. Pardon me. So in social media, I used to look after Twitter and Facebook accounts for bands. I genuinely, during that time, had to change Lee Ryan's Twitter password and not tell him what it was. His record company insisted, after what they went on to be known as Lee from Blues Twitter Meltdown. I was working with Boy George. I had this really weird afternoon round Boy George's house. Round Boy George's house, genuinely, sat in his kitchen for an entire afternoon teaching him to use Facebook. Really true, because it is very nice. We know him quite well, but he does this a lot. Like a kind of creepy Vic Reeves. I left that job, and I left, I got the sack. For saying that Lee Ryan's fans thought his single was shit in a meeting with these record company bosses. So, that's true. I lost touch with Boy George, and I didn't sort of hear from him for ages and ages and ages, until Valentine's Day this year. And this is genuinely true, when I got a text at 3 o'clock in the morning, which my girlfriend saw first, and realised that Boy George, apropos of nothing, had texted me a picture of his scrotum, contorted to look like a love heart. Well, there's no punchline to that bit. I don't think it needs one. It's just pure truth. As I said, I am a music fan, a big music geek. I'm not going to do any material about the kind of music you got in Camden in the late 70s, early 80s, because that way madness lies. Fuck off! This is the sound of the police. Sting's greatest hits album. Dum 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 dum. Show me how you do that thing. No, hang on, I got the words wrong. Fuck! Show me how you do that trick. That's why the Cure are allowed to magic shows. I like to think that one would have gone better had I delivered it more slickly. Yes. Anyway, so yeah, the next music I got into, and this is absolutely true, is when I was a little bit older than Christmas music, and when I was 7 or 8, I really got into Michael Jackson. I fucking loved MJ, a massive MJ fan. Was anything else proper Michael Jackson? I won't say Jacko, that's the name the tabloids gave him that eventually killed him. MJ. I got really into Michael Jackson. I fucking loved Michael Jackson. I'm very aware that this is dodgy ground. You know, at best he was a creepy weirdo, at worst he was a kind of melty-faced Jimmy Savile. But I also thought he was a genius. I think, you know, he proved racism wrong because, you know, he started off his career as a sexy, well, not, no, he started off his career as a child. He peaked in his career as a sexy black man that danced like a demon and sang amazing cool songs, and ended his career as a kind of weird-faced baby dangler who went, "What about elephants? What about us?" That's not cool. I don't know which is the best Michael Jackson song. I've been trying to work it out. Anyone got an opinion?
Black or white?
Black or white? Oh. You see, Black or White, he has done more research into that than anyone else. You know, but you're right, I think it is Billie Jean, but I'm going to definitely go with Billie Jean. Billie Jean, because it's an incredible song, it kind of combines the best and of new and old kind of soul. Ironically enough, Michael Jackson did the moonwalk. Billie Jean was the first time Michael Jackson did the moonwalk, ironically enough, at the Motown, which is the label he left a few years before, the Motown anniversary show in Detroit in 1984. Michael Jackson Billie Jean did the moonwalk for the first time. Everyone was amazed. Now there are people who will tell you that that didn't happen. There are people that will tell you that moonwalk was fake. There are people that say the Russians were developing a moonwalk of their own. Some people will tell you that there was a genuine moonwalk a few years later on the Bad Tour. Those people are wrong. This moonwalk genuinely happened. Michael Jackson genuinely did the moonwalk in 1984. and nobody has visited him since. But Billie Jean. Now I'm not going to do, as I said, I'm not going to do cheap, lazy Michael Jackson jokes, mostly because I love Michael Jackson, and also because the best cheap, lazy Michael Jackson joke that ever been done was done completely innocently by Kelly Rowland from Destiny's Child. On the night Michael Jackson died, I was very upset. I got I was doing a gig in Forest Hill. I got the bus home, checking Twitter and looking in the news for ages and ages and ages, and I got really upset. And I was looking at the people tweeting their as I did today. I mean, like Rick Now died today. I'm fucking, that hit me like a knackered lift. I was spent the entire day reading people's tweets about that, and I did the same thing, reading people's tweets about Michael Jackson, and I heard brilliantly. It was one of those little rays of sunshine that just delighted me, that just cheered me up that night, when I read that Kelly Rowland from Destiny's Child had genuinely tweeted, Michael Jackson is gone. We will never see his like again. He touched so many people in so many ways. A few other kinds of music. I dallied with hip hop. I tried hip hop for a while. My favourite rapper was, of course, the classic white rapper Vanilla Ice. I learned a fact about Vanilla Ice on Wikipedia. Check it yourselves. Vanilla Ice was descended from. Anyone know this? Vanilla Ice was descended from French traitors during the Nazi occupation. Anyone know that? Absolutely true. Vanilla Ice was descended from French traitors during the Nazi occupation, right? And they fled after the Allied invasion. They fled France. They fled to America, started a new life under new names. They had children. Vanilla Ice. That's how it worked. If you read his biography, it's really interesting. Like they were this couple. They were quite amazing, really, and they'd get this sort of secret signal from the Germans. And they'd spy on the resistance. They'd have to like drop everything they were doing. They had to go to the resistance headquarters they found out about, and they just you know, like stick their ear against the wall and spy and take notes, right? They would get the signal and they would stop, collaborate, and listen. First time I did that joke, somebody genuinely went, "Is that true?" I went, "No, but wouldn't it be brilliant if we told everybody that it was?" I genuinely like that. Making up urban legends is one of my favourite things in the world. I was genuinely convinced somebody that if enough women live together for long enough, their iPods will synchronise. And if a real woman had the same bodily proportions as a Barbie doll, she'd be tiny. The next music I genuinely got into, actually, was, it's a bit about White Christmas, but I think I'm going to drop it, we'll ignore that. You didn't need to know that, I was thinking out loud. The next music I got into was, like, I had a phase, and I was 12 years old, and I heard this song for the first time, right? Guns N' Roses, Civil War. Now, that is not the most obvious Guns N' Roses song. Anyone know that? If you like Guns N' Roses, that's not the song you choose. But this song means an awful lot to me. It's the first rock song I ever liked. A mate of mine called Paul Gleaves, little ginger bloke, that's not important, made me a tape, and I got one of those, he left all the ones with swearing on it off, because he obviously had never met my parents. I was worried because his were very polite. And I got one of those kind of blocky tape recorders out of the library. I sat in the library with the headphones on, and I listened to Use Your Illusion 2, which starts with Civil War. It's quite a sort of sedate start. It's a bit worthy. But it's got this bit where suddenly it kicks in, the guitar goes, and Axl goes, "My hands were tied!" And it just completely changed my life. That moment, electrifying, boom, I like rock music, this is amazing, and it was a proper, like sort of Damascus moment. Now I don't know what you know about Guns N' Roses, there's a few brilliant facts about them. For a start, they were terrible at naming things. The band came out of LA, there was a guy called Tracy Guns, who called his band the LA Guns. And there was Axl Rose who called his band Hollywood Rose. They combined their bands. Originally they called it Tracy and Axl's California Fun Time. But eventually they changed it to Guns N' Roses, even though Tracy Guns had left. Their own names are amazing, they're terrible at names. The Guns N' Roses names at the peak of their career were Axl, Slash, Izzy, Dizzy, Duff and Stephen. Stephen left, they replaced him with Matthew. Brilliant. No, I genuinely loved Guns N' Roses because of that. Around the time I decided I'm a metaler. I remember I was sitting in the lunch queue with a guy who I went to school with, whose name was Richard Blackwood, which is genuinely funny because Richard Blackwood is a black comedian, and this Richard Blackwood was a pale, pasty white guy with a hunchback, who genuinely asked me in the queue the day after I discovered this. He went, "Burrows, are you a metaler or a raver?" And I went, "Oh, I'm a metaler." And he went, "Brilliant. Do you like Bon Jovi?" Because when you're that age, you don't know the difference, do you? You don't know what's cool rock and what isn't cool rock. Bon Jovi isn't metal. That's like trying to feed a tiger with pork scratchings. You know, it's fundamentally unsatisfying. It's got weirdly perfect hair for a snack food. Yeah, it doesn't quite work. I wrote that today. But then a thing happened that totally changed that, right? A thing happened that completely changed because I heard Nirvana for the first time, and song number 5 is Lithium by Nirvana. Not Smells Like Teen Spirit, enemy. Lithium. Lithium is a fucking incredible piece of music, right? A brilliant song. Every time I hear it, it takes me right back to my year 8 school trip to France. Like I know every word, I know every beat. It's a fucking incredible song. And it was like I realised that music is that kind of music because there are standards. You don't have to listen to Bon Jovi. There are standards. I didn't just have to listen to anything with a guitar in it. I didn't have to wear my Megadeth t-shirt because it turns out I didn't like Megadeth at all. Now, I did genuinely love Nirvana, and I still do. They're still my favourite band, or one of my favourite bands to this day. Kurt Cobain taught me you can be an outsider, you can be a weirdo, and you can still be cool, and you can still get the girl. You might not necessarily like her very much when push comes to shove. You can get the girl. Now, Courtney Love has been over recently. She did a couple of very well received gigs in London recently. And I do, actually, genuinely, I love Courtney. I'm a big Hole fan. But that wasn't a joke. But I'll bring them out from where I can get them. But Courtney Love has recently been saying in the press that she's going to make a Kurt Cobain musical. Have you heard this story? Oh. Yeah, there's going to be a Kurt Cobain musical apparently, because that's a good idea. It's like some bands, We Will Rock You is terrible, but at least it does have a narrative that fits the songs. You know, there's a bloke called Galileo and a bloke called Figaro and something other, and some bollocks by Ben Elton I can't remember. You know, Mamma Mia, you know, the ABBA songs fit a narrative. It's easy to put a storyline around them. Nirvana, not quite so sure. So I've given it some thought so I could give them some help into how to do the Nirvana musical. This is kind of what I've come up with. Hey Kurt, hey Chris, hey, you coming to that party? I would, Chris, but I've got literally nothing to wear. Well, that's okay, Kurt, you don't have to consider that, it's fine. You just... Hey Kurt, hey Chris, have you fed your mum's parrot yet? I would, but I literally don't know what they eat. Well... Kurt, hey mum, your bedroom absolutely stinks. Ever since the age of 13 through 19, it's had this reek of youth rebellion about it. What is that strange, distinctive pong? Well... I'm not going to do rate man. There are no jokes for that one. But that genuinely did change my life. It really did. Hang on. Oh, ring, ring. Ring, ring. Hello? 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 No, sorry. No. No, not me. Lionel Richie. This is very silly. So yeah, that sort of paved the way for how my life would go, really. On my 13th birthday, just after Kurt Cobain had died, just before Kurt Cobain died, sorry, I cancelled my subscription to the Beano, and a few weeks later took out my subscription to Kerrang! Magazine. This is genuinely the first issue of Kerrang! I ever bought. It's got Terrorvision on the cover. I loved Terrorvision. Look at them. How could you not? Genuinely did. I think they're an amazing band. We're Terrorvision from Bradford. That is how you start a gig. And tribute to Coke. I knew every word. I read this back to front. I haven't done any jokes about Terrorvision yet, but I fucking will, because I've just not got time. That's more biography than it is funny. But it is true.
I admire your perseverance.
Thanks. Oh, there she is. Oh, that's a high five. Frankly, I consigned that routine to oblivion. It's nice I've got a middleman in the gig. What, Alice, what's that? These are all television song titles. I can probably keep going for a while, but no one else would know what I was talking about. But, yeah. No. Yes, I was frantically trying to pun tequila in my head, but I just couldn't. Oh, I could have gone, if that's not her fault. If you didn't like that joke, you can just blame her, that is your excuse. Tequila! See there, it would have worked. Any more television puns for me here? No, oh good. Good, I should all be on the celebrity hit list. Hey, that's a television song. Some people say anyway, that's a television song.
Oh.
This would never have happened in my house, that's a television song. I used to really like television. So the television did lead into one thing, then onto British rock music, and then British pop music, and then Britpop. I love Britpop. Britpop is basically the high point of popular culture as far as I'm concerned. I genuinely, Britpop was my life, my world. I know loads of facts about Britpop. Britpop is the music I listen to the most, 90s indie bands. I know loads of facts about Britpop. I know that Danny Goffey from Supergrass, his dad used to present Top Gear in the 90s, that's a fact. I know that Justine Frischmann from Elastica, her dad designed Centrepoint. He was an architect, designed Centrepoint in the centre of London, that is a fact. And I know that Jazz Man from Babylon Zoo, his dad should have been killed before he was around to I'm the kind of person that will sit in pubs and argue for ages about the precise years that Oasis, Suede and the Manic Street Preachers should have split up. The answer, by the way, is 1994, 1997 and absolutely never. I'll fight you if you disagree. So I genuinely love Britpop. I mean, there are loads of Britpop bands everyone kind of had their own opinion about. You know, you had Pulp who sang about sort of working class identity and sex, and Suede who sang about kind of glamour and decadence. Cooler Shaker who sang about, I don't know, poppadoms or something, I'm not sure. But then for most people, the general sort of mass consciousness, there was two really, wasn't there? There was Blur and Oasis. And it said a lot about you as to which one you like the most. Like, give me a cheer if you were Blur. Give me a cheer if you were Oasis. Alright, so the slightly more boisterous, beery shout for Oasis. Very different bands, Blur and Oasis. Blur, kind of interesting, arty, four of them. They were kind of part of this great lineage of music that went kind of the Kinks, the Jam, Bowie, the Smiths. Blur, it's kind of New Order Blur, kind of went like that. It's kind of interesting character studies, kind of music, kind of girls like them a little bit more. You could dance to them a lot. They're really interesting band. Then you had Oasis, of course, on the other hand. Now Oasis were absolutely fucking awful. Oasis are the only band in the history of music that replaced poor musicians with good ones and got worse. My favourite Oasis fact is Liam Gallagher once genuinely walked out of a Spinal Tap gig because he found out that Spinal Tap weren't a real band. Has anyone ever heard that story about Paul McCartney? That Paul McCartney wrote Yesterday in a Dream. Does anyone know that story? It's true. Paul McCartney wrote Yesterday in a Dream. He woke up one morning in 1963 with Yesterday stuck in his hand, and he was convinced for years that he hadn't written it, it wasn't his song. There was an old song, a classic, an old standard, he'd somehow retained it, and his subconscious had regurgitated it. And he checked with everybody, played it to loads of people, no one knew it. Eventually he accepted that he'd written it, that he'd somehow come up with it in his sleep. It wasn't an old song, it was original, it was Paul McCartney's song. But he's always had this weird suspicion that he didn't write it, that maybe his best known song was something that he didn't write himself, right? Do you think that's how Noel Gallagher feels all the time? Now, I wanted to put a Blur song at number 6. I'm going to go with Beatle Bum. For a very good reason. Because Oasis were obsessed with the fact they were the new Beatles, right? And they weren't, because the Beatles were really interesting and Oasis aren't. Blur went away and kind of went, alright, we'll show you how to be the Beatles, and wrote this song Beatle Bum that really sounds like the Beatles. It's genuinely about taking heroin, and just to add insult to injury, they called it Beatle Bum. And it got to number 1, so that's why that one's there. Because it's a constant reminder that Blur are better than Oasis. Number 7 is Common People by Pulp. Common People is one of the best songs of all time, the best song about class I think ever written. If you don't think that class exists, you are fucking middle class. Common People was a very important song, of course. Jarvis Cocker was really important to me. He was an outsider. He showed you could still be cool and interesting, and he once mooned Michael Jackson, which is amazing. Now, there are some people who tell you that that mooning didn't happen. They'll tell you that mooning was fake. The Russians were developing their own mooning. You see where I'm going with that? Now, those are amazing songs. Now, I did a... Hang on, I think I've missed one. Have I missed one? Oh no, I did a bit of research. Obviously, as you get older, you learn about more music. And I realised that these, actually, are all kind of connected to another band. And that band is the Smiths. Like, without the Smiths, you'd never have had these, and arguably not Nirvana either. I think there's a relationship there. And I got into the Smiths. Now, I'm aware Morrissey isn't a very popular figure sometimes. It's got a lot in common with my granddad. They both got kind of reactionary views of an England that never was, questionable views about immigration, and neither of them have ever made a totally satisfying solo album. But Morrissey did write this song. Morrissey wrote How Soon Is Now. Yeah, exactly. That's that one there. That's a number 8. How Soon Is Now is amazing. Pop music never meant very much to me. The words never meant a great deal to me. I never really understood them. You know, I'm all out of love. I'm so lost without you. We've got Google Maps now. Fuck off. I feel it in my fingers. I feel it in my toes. Arthritis. It's not like about anything serious. How Soon Is Now. That spoke to me. Like, in How Soon Is Now, Morrissey sang, there's a club if you'd like to go. You might meet somebody who really loves you. So you go and you dance on your own. And you leave on your own. And you go home and you cry and you want to die. That was my youth! That spoke to me. Morrissey told me that was okay. Jarvis Cocker told me that you could still get a girl, you could still be weird and cool and creepy, and people would still like you. And he once wrote a song about wanking in a cupboard. This music spoke to me. This is what it was about. Now, the final piece of the puzzle kind of here was a band who I will love to the day I die, a band called the Manic Street Preachers, right? Is anyone an actual Manic's obsessive, a proper Manic's fan in? It's few and far between. I genuinely love them. The Manics were very important, partly because they had this brilliant rhetoric, they were political and engaged and exciting, but also they told me that it's completely okay to be a really terrible musician. 2 of them were dreadful in their early days. I play bass, right? Anyone play bass? Bass is brilliant, but if you play bass, you know the absolute secret of bass guitar, which is that our instrument is substantially easier than everybody else's. 1 string at a time, fucking easy, right? Nicky Wire didn't really bother to play. He just jumped up and down in a dress and looked awesome. I was like, I want a bit of that. Bass is... And he's actually, Nicky Wire, to be fair, has got good now. He can play bass now, but he has been playing every day of his life for 20 years. And it's taken him a while. But it was very important when I saw that. And I'm like, oh, I'll play bass, because girls like bass players. I mean, the bass players are better than drummers. Drummers are fine, they've got a good sense of rhythm, and you'll always have a van to sleep in. But... being a bass player is brilliant. Like, it is. Look, the evidence it's so easy. Like, Coldplay split their royalties 4 ways, right? 25% each. Now, if I was the bass player in Coldplay would sound exactly the fucking same. But I'd be a millionaire. Paul Quigsy McGuigan from Oasis, right? They're not there. Paul Quigsy McGuigan from Oasis played 1 note for 5 years. And then in the year 2000 he left Oasis and Oasis got worse. That's how important the bass player is. Right, the Manic song I'm going to go for is one called Faster. Now, partly because it's got this incredible rhetoric, the lyrics are incredible. Richie Edwards, probably his masterpiece before he went missing. Richie Edwards sadly went missing. I am an architect, they call me a butcher, I am a pioneer, they call me primitive, I am purity, they call me perverted. If you stand up like an owl, then you will be knocked down. I've been too honest with myself, I should have lied like everybody else. I know every single word to that song, and I know that because I wrote them all on the back of my maths GCSE work. So these are the final pieces in the puzzle that made me me. Music and these songs have all they are the 9 so far best songs of all time. They've come to my rescue every time I needed them. These songs have been there, right? And music is that's what music's for. That's what music does, right? That's what music helps. It soothes you. It makes you feel better. That's what music is for. Now that happened to me every time, except one occasion, right? When I needed music and there was no music to be had. And that was the time I found myself 2 years ago in the waiting room of an STD clinic. Now, this isn't going to get weird, don't worry, I'm not going to ask you if you've been for a test, that's uncomfortable. If you're here with a boy, with a girl, with a date, with a partner, and you find out they've not had an STD test in a comedy gig, it can get weird. Half the room, mostly, but not entirely, girls finding out their partner hasn't had an STD test will turn to that partner and go, that is really irresponsible, I'm really disappointed with you, you should get yourself checked out. And half the room, mostly, but not entirely, boys, on hearing their partner hasn't been tested, will turn to that partner and go, probably be alright. Which is why I had to go for a test in the first place. I'm not going to ask you if you've been, we're not going to compare notes, we're not going to play STD top trumps, although I do really like the idea. You go first. Okay, symptoms. Oh, chlamydia 5. Gonorrhea 20! I win! Sort of. Not sure what the pictures would be on STD top trumps. I think that chlamydia would just be a girl in a Loughborough University hoodie just crying. The reason I was very scared. I'd never been before, which was irresponsible. I was in my 30s, and I'd heard a rumour. Now all the men in the room will know the rumour that you should. What they tell you why men are reluctant to go for these tests is there's a rumour. They say they do a thing to you. A thing with a metal cocktail umbrella. You know the rumour of the metal cocktail? It's not a real cocktail umbrella, you don't have to piss in a martini glass. You're fine, on your way. It's not that, it's a metal cocktail umbrella shaped thing they poke down your gentleman's lower mouth. Down your racist tongue. By the way, boys in the room, has anyone ever done that thing where you turn it 90 degrees to the side to put eyes on it and make it talk? No? You try it. You can make it sing as well. R-E-S-P-C-T, find out what it means to me. Urethra Franklin there. Thank you, that was the best joke in the show. So I was scared, right? I was scared of what the results would have been. You know, I'd been a teenage Manic Street Preachers fan with access to the internet. There were regrets. I was scared of the pokey thing, which, by the way, they don't do anymore. But I was genuinely terrified. And when I'm terrified, as I said, these songs come to me. Music rescues me, but there was no music. I couldn't listen to my iPhone because I was waiting for them to call my name. I couldn't listen to one headphone because I'm not a 14-year-old girl on a bus. Then I realised there was music, right? Because behind the receptionist's desk was this like painters and decorators radio, an old paint splattered radio. It must have been there for years, and it had Magic FM on it, and the adverts were on. I was like, brilliant, amazing, right? I love Magic FM, I love old music, brilliant. So I was like, okay, that's a range of music they can be playing. The next song is going to tell me how this goes. The next song is going to explain to me how this is going to go. It'll make me feel better, it'll soothe my soul, it'll help me. The next song, the next song, the next song will be a sign from the musical gods. The next song, the next song, the next song. I got this into my head, I got obsessed with it. I sat there waiting, genuinely, for the adverts to end, and I swear this is true. Waiting for a sign from the musical gods to tell me how my test would go, if I'd be okay, and to tell me not to worry anymore. And ladies and gentlemen, as I sat there waiting, the adverts finished, and this, I promise, is the song that I heard.
Tonight, I said, only good time. I feel
Yeah. Now, that is Don't Stop Me Now by Queen, as you know. Don't Stop Me Now is this song, it's number 10. By coincidence, Don't Stop Me Now is one of the 10 best songs of all time. Now, I don't know if you know what Don't Stop Me Now is about, right? Don't Stop Me Now is about how Freddie Mercury discovered the gay scene of 1970s New York, the place he could finally be himself and be the person he had always wanted to be, right? And that freedom, that joy, is in every single beat of that song. It's a beautiful, expressive kind of release of euphoria. It's in Freddie's incredible pounding piano part, it's in that amazing vocal part. That song has joy encoded into every note. It sounds like running downhill. It's a beautiful, expressive kind of statement of freedom. The first time I ever heard it, it really opened my eyes to how beautiful and powerful and exciting music could be, right? Now that's not what I was thinking about in the STD clinic. What I was thinking was, fucking hell, Freddie Mercury died of AIDS. Don't want to have AIDS, I know what happens, you end up getting on a motorbike, you drive away, no one ever sees you again. Yes, that's what I learned from Mark Fowler off of EastEnders. We all did, it was very responsible television. But it's okay, because the next song was Sex on Fire by Kings of Leon. And then Sexual Healing. And then weirdly, there was a song called "It's Okay, Mark, You Don't Have AIDS," and off I went. And by the way, I'm completely fine, ladies. That was the wrong with it. They don't do the pokey thing anymore either. I just, but it was a really important discovery that totally kind of confirmed me how important music is and how this all sticks together. And this is legitimately and genuinely. I'm just going to check I've done everything. Legitimately and genuinely, the 10 best songs of all time for me. Because I'm not doing this as a music snob. These are my 10 best songs of all time. And like, frankly, it's my list. So like, we can basically throw it away because it's not important. These are my songs. It's just for me. But like the actual 10 best songs of all time aren't mine. They're fucking everybody's. You got hard rock. What's the song you were listening to most recently? I don't know that one. Give me a real song. That's fine. Silly, give me a song.
Half Man, Half Biscuit.
Half Man, Half Biscuit.
Joy Division up and gloves.
Oh, that is a tune. That is a fucking great tune. Like you said, I said earlier on. Remember the song that's stuck in your head? What was the song that was stuck in your head?
Where Is My Mind?
Where Is My Mind is a brilliant, beautiful song. Like these. Would I like Laura? What was the song that stuck in your head?
Love Will Tear Us Apart.
Oh, amazing song. Actually, these are all genuinely brilliant. Better than my handwriting, anyway. But look, this is the 10 best songs of all time. This is the most important thing, the stuff that's important to you, because that's what music is for. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you love it. That's why I said earlier on, no one likes a bit of everything, because everyone likes something a lot, and that's the important thing. I recently got this tattoo, right, and this is what I'll finish telling you about my tattoo. And this is to remind me of that, right? Because it says holding on for tomorrow. That is a Blur quote, holding on for tomorrow. It's to remind me that in the future, to always look to the future, that the future, something else could happen, and also that Oasis are terrible. This is yesterday. That is a Manic Street Preachers quote. I've got that because Manic's fans really like writing stuff onto their arms. I am one, don't worry. And this. Today is the greatest day. That's a Smashing Pumpkins quote, right? Today is the greatest day. I've lost it. And that is always to remember, to make sure that I always focus on the time I had sex for the first time. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the show. Thank you very much. I'm aware that ending needs a bit of tightening up. Would you like a bit of prepared material just to send you on your way for the interval, or are you all too hot and want to go? Good. Cheer for the extra material. Yay! Cheer for going. You're very polite. I'll tell you a quick story. It'll last like 2 or 3 minutes, but just to show you that some of this actually has some thought going to it. But this is a true story. Has everyone got kids in the room? Anyone old enough to have kids? Like, genuinely, teenagers are the funniest people in the entire world. The funniest thing we ever did when we were teenagers, a science teacher went out the room for 5 minutes, we turned on the gas taps and pretended we were dead. Amazing. Now, the funniest thing is I went to school with a guy, actually, Michelle at the back of the room went to school with me. Michelle, do you remember Michael Hinks?
Yes.
I went to school with a guy called Michael Hinks, and Michelle will probably be able to remember this, and he was lovely, but very boring. So that's his fair assessment. Yeah. His favourite hobby was canoeing, right? And as only a teenage boy can, he talks about his hobby all the time. Canoeing. Canoeing this, canoeing that, canoeing. Got fucking boring. We decided to do something about it, right? Me and my friends decided we had to save our sanity. We had to, like, make him better. We had to, like, make him more exciting. What we decided to do was to change the meaning of the word canoeing and not tell him. We decided when Michael Hinks talked about canoeing, he no longer meant canoeing. Canoeing was a euphemism for masturbation. Suddenly, everything he said was hilarious. What are you doing tonight, Hinksy? Genuinely, I can't go out, I'm cleaning my canoe. True. Do you fancy going out tonight, Hinksy? I can't, I'm going canoeing. We would piss ourselves. My favourite one, the best one, and it was the time we said, Hinksy, we're going down zoo in Hinckley tonight, do you fancy coming out? And he went, oh guys, I'd love to. I've got an early start tomorrow morning. I'm going canoeing with my dad. He's going to teach me some new moves. Now, I forgot about this for years and years and years, and then the Olympics happened, right? Now, I don't know much about sport. Look at me, as far as I'm concerned, Galatasaray is where Doctor Who comes from. But I did really get into the Olympics. Mostly because canoeing was on telly all the time, and that shit was hilarious. Texting all my old schoolmates, watching the canoeing, got the tissues, amazing. And then I had this brilliant moment, and this is what I'll leave on. This brilliant moment was just for me, a perfect, brilliant moment. When I was in Greg's the Baker's in Peckham in South London, because my life is going well, and they had on the Olympic canoeing on Radio 5 in Greg's. They were listening to it. And one of those moments was just for me, a shining, brilliant, golden moment that only I understood, no one else around me got. It was one of the great pleasures, a moment that was just a perfect expression that was just for me. And it's when I heard these words genuinely come out of that radio. We are sorry to announce the current canoe Grand Slalom champion has had to pull out of the game. Due to a wrist injury. And that was the peak of my life. That is it. Ladies and gentlemen, go forward, have a drink. We'll be back with another drink in a little bit. Thank you very much.
Upstairs.
Do you want me to grab you another drink?
Yeah. Say again?
Are you coming up?
No, it doesn't.
Hello. Tired.
I did. You started talking about it. Yeah, no.